Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Folks, back here again in the week between Christmas and New Year's, and if you celebrate, I hope that you had a very wonderful Merry Christmas. I know I did. I'm very blessed to be around so many great friends and family. And my wish for you for 2024 is that next year is just at least a little bit better than this year. We're going to make it, folks. Today, we look at Nite of Champions II from the AWA and the NWA. Nite of Champions II took place December the 29th, 1985. From the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and there were 12,000 in attendance. And folks, if you want to find this, it is not hard to find on the internet. Tony Schiavone is shown talking about what happened between the Road Warriors and the Russian team. He recaps what has happened and brings the Legion of Doom in. Paul Ellering says they have worked for everything they have got. They then say that what they're going to do to the Russians. Schiavone then talks to Tully Blanchard with Baby Doll. Blanchard says he is coming for Magnum TA. He says The Gathering, now available in the archives, didn't finish it. He is coming after the U.S. title because Magnum tried to put his eye out. Schiavone then talks to the Rock and Roll Express. They say they are coming to the Meadowlands to take on the Long Riders. Gary Michael Capetto welcomes us to Nite of Champions II and then introduces the New Jersey State Athletic Commission officials. Ron Bass versus J.J. Dillon. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up and drive to the ropes. Break clean. Another lock up and drive to the ropes. They exchange blows and Dillon gets knocked down. Bass with a hammerlock, but Dillon gets to the ropes. Bass with a wrist lock. He gets Dillon down into an armbar. Dillon gets out and hits Bass, but keeps retreating every time Bass comes back. Bass goes back to the armbar. Dillon gets to the ropes. He scratches Bass on the back and stomps him in the corner. He gets a nerve hold on Bass. He throws him into the corner and chokes Bass. Bass comes back with an Irish whip and a back elbow. Bass with another Irish whip, and then he puts the claw on, and Dillon submits. World Midget Championship match. Their words, not mine. Little Tokyo versus Cowboy Lang. The bell rings, and Tokyo runs from Lang. They lock up and drive to a corner, and Tokyo hits Lang with a shot. Tokyo then hides behind the referee. Lang with some single leg pickups, but Tokyo keeps getting away. Tokyo with a side headlock. Lang goes for an atomic drop, but Tokyo holds on to get a takeover. Back and forth. Tokyo goes back to the side headlock. Lang gets out and hits a drop kick. A sunset flip gets the 2 count for Lang. Lang puts Tokyo on the ropes and makes fun of Tokyo. Tokyo comes back with a wrist lock, but Lang reverses it. All Lang so far is he gets Tokyo down but can't get the 3 count. Tokyo complains to the referee. Tokyo gets Lang down in the corner. Lang with a hip toss for a 2 count. He suplexes Tokyo for another 2 count. An atomic drop gets another 2 count. Tokyo works on the leg of Lang and gets the 2 count. Lang responds with an Irish whip and a backdrop. He stomps on Tokyo. Tokyo with a corner whip. He gets Lang down and pins him with a foot on the ropes. AWA Women's Championship match. Sherry Martel versus Debbie Combs. Martel doesn't want to be checked by the referee and yells at him. The bell rings and they lock up. Drive to the ropes and break clean. Another lock up and Martel gets a side headlock on. She guillotines Combs on the top rope. Martel keeps up the attack on Combs. She gets her in a front face lock. Combs gets to the ropes. Combs with a single leg into a spinning toe hold. She gets a couple of 2 counts. Martel reverses the hold, but Combs gets to the ropes. Martel throws Combs outside and the crowd cheers. She follows Combs out and chokes her with a mic cord. Combs comes back and slams Martel down on the mat. Combs slams Martel back in the ring from the apron. Combs with a scoop slam for a 2 count. Back and forth. Martel with a corner whip, but misses the splash when Combs moves. Combs then misses a splash when Martel moves and Combs spills to the outside. Combs slaps Martel down when Combs gets back in the ring. She is relentless. Combs with a front face lock. Martel gets to the ropes and does the guillotine slingshot move again. Martel rolls Combs up for a 2 count. Back and forth. This is a sloppy match, but the fans are yelling out cruel things. Martel guillotines Combs again. She slaps Combs down several times. Combs slingshots Martel out of the corner. She gets a 2 count. Martel gets an armbar on. Combs gets out and throws Martel to the floor. Martel gets back in. Combs gets Martel in an airplane spin. She throws Martel down, but as she does, Martel hooks the legs and pins Combs with a handful of tights. Martel hits Combs with the belt and leaves. Universal Championship match, Carlos Colon versus the Barbarian with Paul Jones. It takes a while for them to get started. Colon makes the referee have Barbarian take his spiked wristband off. They lock up. Colon attacks Barbarian. Barbarian pushes off. Colon with a side headlock. Barbarian push off again, but Colon keeps the side headlock on. Barbarian gets to the ropes and attacks Colon with knees and chops. Barbarian with a press slam. That was impressive. No pun intended. He gets a 2 count. Barbarian with an Irish whip and a drop kick. He gets a 2 count. Barbarian with a bear hug. Colon with a head clap to get out. Barbarian with an Irish whip and a clothesline for a 2 count. Barbarian misses a top rope headbutt when Colon moves. Colon with a headbutt. He then gets an Irish whip and a drop kick. Barbarian throws Colon to the outside. Jones attacks Colon. Barbarian comes out and slams Colon on the floor. Barbarian slams Colon into the ring from the apron, but Colon holds on and rolls through to get the pin. Jones gets on the mic and says they will be back. Buddy Roberts versus Paul Ellering. Ellering very popular with the crowd. Roberts goes to attack Ellering as soon as the bell rings, but Ellering attacks him instead. Ellering wearing a neck brace. He brutalizes Roberts, who is bumping like crazy for Ellering. He ties Roberts up in the ropes and hits him, and Roberts gets tangled upside down in the ropes. Roberts comes back and slams Ellering's knee down on Roberts' knee. He then slams Ellering's knee on the ring post several times. Ellering gets away and walks around at ringside until he grabs Roberts' leg and gets him down. He then slams Roberts' knee against the corner post to the delight of the crowd. Back and forth. Roberts drops a knee on and stomps Ellering's neck. Ellering trying to get away, but Roberts keeps up the attack. Roberts working on the neck. He runs Ellering into a corner and then bulldogs him. The Road Warriors hit the ring and attack Roberts for the disqualification. Animal puts Roberts in a bear hug, and Hawk clotheslines him. The crowd is loving every second of this. Hawk throws Roberts out. Roberts wins by disqualification, and the crowd boos. NWA World Tag Team Championship match. The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson versus the Long Riders, Bill and Scott Irwin. Gibson and Scott start. They lock up. Gibson with a side headlock. Scott pushes off, but Gibson comes back with a forearm. Gibson goes back to the side headlock. Irwin pushes off again, and Gibson comes back with a hip lock. He then takes both Long Riders down when Bill comes in with a headlock leg scissors combo that the crowd just loves. It's all rock and roll as Morton is tagged in. He reverses a wrist lock on Scott. Scott with an Irish whip and a back elbow. Bill tagged in. Morton hits him with an arm drag and then a fist drop from the second rope. Gibson tagged in and gets a side headlock. He hits Bill with a drop kick and a side headlock takeover. Bill turns over for a 2 count. They go back and forth. Morton tagged in. They keep Bill down. Morton with a cover after a drop kick, but Scott breaks up the tag. Gibson tagged in. The tag champs are doing a good job of quick tagging. Morton in and hits a snapmare on Bill. He gets a wrist lock on, and Gibson hits a knee drop on the arm after tagging in. Gibson with a corner whip, and Bill comes back with a stampede to knock Gibson down. Scott tagged in and he stomps Gibson down. Scott with an Irish whip and a high knee. He guillotines Gibson on the top rope and chokes him for a 4 count. Bill tagged in. He hits a splash from the second rope for a 2 count. He runs Gibson into Scott's boot and tags Scott in. Scott continues the assault. Long Riders double team Gibson to goad Morton in so that they can double team some more while the referee deals with Morton. All 4 men in now, and the referee has a hard time keeping them separated. Bill in and keeps up the assault on Gibson. The Long Riders have really turned this around. Scott in after the phantom tag spot, which I hate. Gibson fighting back but can't make the tag. Gibson gets his knees up on a Scott splash attempt. Bill and Morton tagged in. Morton cleans house on the Long Riders to the delight of the crowd. He hits a crossbody on Bill, but Scott breaks up the pin attempt, and now all 4 men in the ring. Long Riders with a double Irish whip and back elbow to Gibson. Morton with a sunset flip to Bill to get the pin. The Long Riders keep up the attack after the match. The Rock and Roll leave and the Long Riders refuse to leave the ring. They finally do leave, though. A 2-on-1 Russian death match. Chris Markov and Boris Zukov versus Sergeant Slaughter. The Russians attack Slaughter in the corner as soon as the bell rings. Slaughter fights back and throws Markov into a turnbuckle. The Russians grab Slaughter and beat on him. They get him in their corner and bite him. Slaughter fights out of the corner, but gets overwhelmed again. Slaughter with a corner whip to Zukov, who gets caught in the ropes. Slaughter then takes his belt off and starts whipping the heels with it. The heels bumping big time. He chokes Markov with the belt as a massive USA chant goes out. The heels get the belt and start choking Slaughter with it. Slaughter goes down to the mat. Markov also puts the claw on Slaughter, who has been busted open. Slaughter trying to get back to his feet. A young Paul Heyman is there taking pictures at ringside. Slaughter down to the mat and the referee is checking on him. The hand doesn't go down the third time as Slaughter starts to make it back to his feet. Slaughter gets out of the belt, but the Russians continue to beat him down. They headbutt Slaughter and he falls out of the ring. They continue to beat and choke him on the apron. Slaughter bows up and tries to come back. Zukov with an Irish whip and a clothesline for a 2 count. Zukov goes back to choking Slaughter on the ropes. The heels get Slaughter down again for a 2 count. The crowd trying to get behind Slaughter, who hits Markov with the backbreaker. Slaughter coming back. Slaughter gets the belt back and starts whipping the heels with it. The crowd cheers wildly. Slaughter with a running elbow to Markov for a 2 count. The Russians counter with a double Irish whip and back elbow. They follow it up with a double backdrop. Zukov holds Slaughter for Markov to clothesline, but gets clotheslined instead when Slaughter moves. Slaughter then hits Markov to get the pin. The Russians try to attack Slaughter after the match, but he fights them off. NWA United States Championship match. Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard with Baby Doll. They lock up and vie for position. They finally break in the corner. They exchange shots. Back and forth, and they are being stiff with each other. Blanchard with a knee lift and a right hand. Magnum with a corner whip and a press slam. Blanchard rolls out and Baby Doll checks on him. Blanchard goes to get back in and the crowd yells, "I quit," to antagonize him. They lock up and drive to a corner again. Blanchard bumping for every Magnum shot. Magnum with a running forearm for a 2 count. Blanchard kicks Magnum to the outside and then goes after him. He drops Magnum on the barricade. He keeps preventing Magnum from getting back in. Magnum finally gets back in, only to get kicked out by Blanchard again. Blanchard is relentless. Blanchard attacking Magnum on the floor. Magnum bloody and having trouble getting back to his feet. They exchange punches outside as the crowd cheers. Magnum runs Blanchard into the guardrail. Back in, Magnum knocks Blanchard to the ground with the right hand. He hits Blanchard with a double axe handle. He knocks Blanchard to the ground. Blanchard is now bloody as he struggles to get back to his feet. Magnum with a suplex, and he gets a 2 count. Blanchard throws Magnum to the outside. He follows and goes to suplex Magnum, who slips out and punches Blanchard. He throws Blanchard back in and goes to deliver a superplex, but Blanchard pushes Magnum off. Blanchard delivers a backbreaker to get a series of 2 counts. They slug each other in the center of the ring. They fight to a corner. Both get knocked to the mat. Blanchard choking Magnum on the second rope. Blanchard with an Irish whip and goes for a back elbow. Magnum ducks it and hits Blanchard with a drop kick for a 2 count. They trade shots again. Magnum gets another 2 count. He then hits a belly-to-belly suplex to get the pin. NWA World Heavyweight Championship match. Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes. The referee checks both men. The bell rings and they circle each other. They take turns strutting. They lock up. Rhodes with a side headlock. Flair pushes off and Rhodes comes back with a shoulder block. He hits Flair with an elbow and Flair goes outside to regroup. Flair getting the crowd riled up. He is so good at this. Flair chopping Rhodes in the corner and Rhodes coming back with a series of punches to Flair. He knocks Flair down a couple of times. Flair rolls back outside and takes his time getting back in. Flair with a side headlock and Rhodes reverses a hammerlock. Rhodes chopping Flair in the corner and hits a snapmare. Rhodes with a front face lock. They exchange reversals and Flair gets Rhodes down. Flair working on the leg of Rhodes. He chops Rhodes in the corner. He then gets Rhodes down and works on the leg again. The referee stops him and then Flair and the referee get into a shoving match. Flair puts Rhodes in the figure 4. Rhodes fighting it. He reverses it and Flair quickly gets out of the move. Rhodes gets Flair down and puts on the leg lock. Flair rakes Rhodes' face to get out of the move. They go back and forth and Flair gets the sleeper on. Rhodes drops down to send Flair face first into the corner buckle, and Flair does the Flair flop, so take a shot if you're drinking at home. Flair begging off as Rhodes stomps him down in the corner. Rhodes pulls Flair out of the corner and goes to put the figure 4 on Flair, but Flair slips out. Rhodes with a running forearm to Flair. He gets a 2 count. He kicks Flair. Rhodes hits an elbow on Flair in the corner. He corner whips Flair, who bumps over the top rope to the outside. Rhodes comes after Flair, who is begging off. Rhodes knocks Flair down a couple of times. They trade chops. Flair begging off in the corner. His face is a bloody mess. He gets Rhodes down with a double leg pickup. Flair covers Rhodes with his foot on the ropes, but gets caught. Flair then goes up top, but gets caught and slammed off, so take another shot. Rhodes puts the figure 4 on. Flair fighting it. Flair gets out, and Rhodes knocks him to the outside. Rhodes follows him out, and they trade shots. They get back into the ring. Flair runs to crossbody Rhodes, who ducks, and Flair takes out the referee. Rhodes rolls Flair up, but there's no referee to count. Flair pokes Rhodes in the eye and rushes Rhodes, who backdrops Flair out of the ring. Flair gets back in the ring, and Rhodes covers him as another referee counts to 3, and I already know where this is going because I've seen this too many times. The crowd celebrates, and Rhodes gets the title, and the fresh referee takes it away from him, and Flair wins by DQ. The fans are upset, but cheer Rhodes when he leaves. And folks, this following so closely to the end of Starrcade 85 shows that Rhodes was relying too much on this type of finish. Australian style tag team match. I don't know why they call it this because it's just a tag team match. I did not see any difference. Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev with Nikita Koloff versus the Road Warriors Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering. Ivan and Animal start, and Animal press slams Ivan. Hawk tagged in, and Ivan bounces between the Road Warriors, selling like nobody's business. Khrushchev tagged in. Test of strength. Khrushchev with a wrist lock to Hawk. They both duck clotheslines, and now Khrushchev is bouncing back and forth. Hawk with a knee lift and a fist drop to Khrushchev. Animal tagged in, and the Road Warriors double team and beat Khrushchev down in the corner. Animal reverses an Irish whip, and Khrushchev goes to crossbody Animal, who just catches Khrushchev and slams him. Now all 4 men in, and the Russians both get slammed. Hawk and Khrushchev in. Khrushchev gets Hawk in the corner, and Ivan tagged in. He runs Hawk into several turnbuckles. Hawk comes back and runs Ivan into a turnbuckle. Ivan misses a leg drop. Hawk beats Ivan down and tags Animal in. Animal knocks Khrushchev off the apron and then runs to clothesline Ivan, who ducks, and Khrushchev pulls down the top rope, and Animal falls out to the floor. Khrushchev tagged in and hits a shoulder breaker on Animal. He gets a 2 count. The heels get the turnbuckle pad off their corner and double team Animal. Ivan chokes Animal with the tag rope. Ivan gets Animal down with a nerve hold. Animal fighting to get out. Animal goes for the leg, but Ivan moves and Khrushchev tagged in. Khrushchev cuts off the tag attempt. Double clothesline. Hawk and Ivan tagged in. Hawk with a back elbow. He throws Ivan out of the ring. Ivan brutalized. All 4 men in now. Ivan busted open. The referee is distracted, so Nikita comes in and hits Hawk with Khrushchev's Mid-Atlantic Championship and covers Hawk trying to pass as Ivan. But Ellering stops the referee from counting and shows that it's Nikita. The bell rings and now all 6 are in, and the Russians attack Ellering. Animal runs them off as the Road Warriors win by DQ. They then check on Ellering. AWA World Heavyweight Championship match. Rick Martel versus Stan Hansen. The bell rings and they trade shots. Hansen concentrating on Martel's back. Martel comes back with a crossbody for a 2 count. Hansen goes outside to regroup. Martel with an arm drag into an armbar. Hansen up and breaks the hold. Hansen keeps working on the back. Martel works on the arm. Martel's back is bothering him. Hansen hits the back of Martel. He throws Martel out and then back in the ring. Back and forth. Hansen with the back elbow. The crowd is screaming boring. Hansen with a belly-to-back suplex for a 2 count. A gut-wrench suplex gets another 2 count. Martel gets his knees up for a splash attempt. They trade 2 counts. Hansen with an abdominal stretch. Martel gets to the ropes, and Hansen spills to the outside. Martel with an inside cradle for a 2 count. Hansen with the Boston Crab. Martel is fighting it, but finally gives up, and we have a new AWA World Champion. The crowd is mixed. Hansen gets some cheers. He is announced as champion and holds the belt high as we fade to black. Final thoughts. This was an okay show. The Flair Dusty match and the Road Warriors match, both having disqualifications, hurt it. It was interesting to see the title change, though. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.